October 26, 1942, 120 miles north of the Santa Cruz Islands. Night rain slashes across a black Pacific sky. The cockpit of Lieutenant Saburo Tanaka's Nakajima B-5N Kate vibrates as turbulence hammers the wings. Rain needles the canopy, turning the world into shifting silver streaks. Below him, the ocean is invisible. No moon, no horizon, only darkness and the low growl of the engine. Tanaka tightens his grip on the control column. This is the weather that keeps enemies blind. This is when Japanese naval aviators strike. He glances left, then right. The rest of his formation is gone, swallowed by cloud and rain. It doesn't matter. He has trained for this. Since flight school, he has been taught the same truth. The enemy must see you to stop you, and tonight, no one can see anything. Tanaka scans ahead, eyes straining for the faintest shadow of an American carrier. Somewhere out there is steel, fuel, and sleeping sailors. His navigator leans forward, counting seconds, calculating dead reckoning by instinct and experience alone. No radio chatter, no lights, just rain and wind. Then, something feels wrong. High above the storm, aboard the U.S. Navy cruiser USS San Juan, a rotating antenna slices the darkness. Inside a cramped, dimly lit compartment, a young radar operator stares at a green cathode ray tube. A thin line sweeps clockwise again and again. A blip appears. "Contact," he says, voice tight. "Bearing 085, range 70 miles, multiple returns." The officer of the deck steps closer. "Altitude?" "Hard to say, sir, but they're coming fast." This is SG radar, microwave radar, new, secret, and deadly. Unlike the older CXAM sets, it doesn't care about clouds or rain. It doesn't need moonlight. It sees through the storm as if it isn't there at all. On another ship, a fighter director marks grease pencil lines across a plotting board. Bearings, speed, heading. He doesn't look out the window. There's nothing to see. He looks only at the glowing screen. "Launch the cap," he orders. "Vector them to Angels 8. Bring them in from the west." Minutes later, F-4F Wildcats claw into the rain-soaked sky, guided not by sight, but by voices crackling in their headsets. "Turn left. Steady. You're 10 miles out." Back in his cockpit, Tanaka frowns. A flash far off, then another. Lightning, he tells himself. Just lightning. But the flashes keep coming, and they're moving. His radio suddenly erupts with frantic Japanese voices. Someone is shouting. Someone else is screaming that fighters are coming out of the clouds. Tanaka's heart slams against his ribs. Impossible, he thinks. They can't see us. The first American fighter drops through the storm like a ghost, guns blazing. Tracer rounds tear past Lieutenant Tanaka's canopy, white-hot lines cutting through rain and darkness. He jerks the Kate into a shallow dive, engine howling in protest. Another burst flashes by, too accurate, too deliberate. This is no blind interception. Someone up there knows exactly where he is. Above the storm, Lieutenant James "Red" Holloway, U.S. Navy, grips the controls of his F-4F Wildcat as a calm voice guides him through the void. "Bandit bearing 090, range 2 miles, slightly below you." Holloway can't see a thing. No stars, no sea, just black cloud. But he trusts the voice. The fighter director, seated deep inside a ship miles away, eyes locked on a glowing radar scope. "Ease left," the voice says. "Now." Holloway obeys. Suddenly, a shadow streaks beneath his wing, dark against darker night. "There!" Holloway shouts. He squeezes the trigger. 4.50 caliber machine guns erupt, the recoil shuddering through the airframe. The Japanese bomber staggers, smoke trailing into the rain. Inside the Kate, Tanaka feels the aircraft shudder. Warning lights flare. The navigator slumps forward, unmoving. Tanaka shouts his name, but the intercom crackles with static. Below them, the American fleet has already begun to move. On the deck of USS Enterprise, klaxons blare as anti-aircraft crews sprint to their guns. Directors swivel. Radar feeds range and bearing directly into fire control computers. 5-inch guns elevate not toward what sailors see, but toward what radar knows. "Target locked," an ensign reports. "Multiple bogies inbound." "Open fire," comes the reply. The night explodes. Shells burst in perfect, terrible patterns, black puffs with flashes at their centers, marching across the sky. To Japanese aviators, it looks like the Americans are firing at ghosts, but the bursts walk closer, tighter, until steel fragments rake through wings and fuselages. One Japanese pilot screams over the radio, disbelief raw in his voice. "They are shooting through the clouds. How do they know where we are?" No one answers. Tanaka pushes his wounded aircraft lower, hoping the sea will hide him. Instead, another Wildcat slashes past, so close he sees the American pilot's goggles glint in muzzle flash. This isn't a lucky encounter, it's a hunt. For the first time since Pearl Harbor, Japanese naval aviators are not the unseen attackers. They are the ones exposed, tracked, predicted, and destroyed by an enemy they cannot see. And somewhere deep inside the American ships, radar screens glow steadily, indifferent to rain, darkness, or disbelief. Dawn creeps over the Pacific like a wound slowly opening. Debris floats where aircraft once flew. Oil slicks shimmer pink and black on the rolling sea. A Japanese float plane circles cautiously, its observer counting wreckage with a sinking feeling. Too many fires, too many parachutes that never opened. Aboard a surviving Japanese carrier, pilots sit in silence, flight jackets soaked, eyes hollow. Lieutenant Tanaka is not among them. His aircraft never returned. In the ready room, an intelligence officer pins fresh reports to aboard. Storm conditions, night approach, yet American fighters intercepted anyway. Anti-aircraft fire was immediate, accurate, lethal. A senior aviator finally speaks. "They saw us before we saw them." The words hang in the air like smoke. Across the ocean, in the wardroom of USS Enterprise, American officers replay the night with quiet intensity. Radar plots are laid out on the table, lines and symbols showing every Japanese turn, every altitude change. Captain Osborne Hardison taps the chart. "They never knew we were waiting." The technology behind that knowledge is still classified, still spoken of in lowered voices. CXAM radar, bulky and crude, had given the Americans early warning before the war, but now SG radar, compact and precise, has changed everything. Fighters no longer wander the sky searching. They are sent, placed exactly where the enemy will be. At Pearl Harbor, intercepted Japanese radio traffic is translated and circulated. Phrases repeat again and again. Attacked in total darkness, anti-aircraft fire guided by unknown means, enemy fighters appeared from clouds. Japanese doctrine has always prized the perfect strike, approach unseen, hit hard, vanish. Radar breaks that spell. Storms no longer protect, night no longer conceals. A Japanese naval staff officer writes bitterly in his diary, "The Americans possess an eye that sees through heaven itself." By mid-1943, the consequences are unmistakable. At places like Vela Gulf, Bougainville, and the Philippine Sea, radar-directed interceptions multiply. Japanese losses mount faster than training can replace crews. Veterans die, novices take their place, facing an enemy that always seems ready. In the air, pilots still fly bravely, still press attacks through flak and fighters. But something vital has been lost, the confidence that surprise alone can carry the day. American radar operators, many barely out of their teens, sit hunched over glowing screens, steering entire battles with calm voices and steady hands. They rarely see the enemy. They don't need to. The war in the Pacific is no longer fought just with courage and skill, but with electrons, wavelengths, and invisible beams that turn the sky itself into a battlefield map. In a dim laboratory outside Yokosuka, Japanese engineers crowd around a captured American radar component. It is dented, salt-stained, and incomplete, but to them it is a revelation. Copper waveguides, precision machining, tolerances they struggle to replicate. "We are behind," one engineer admits quietly. Japan does develop radar sets like the Type 21 and Type 22, but too slowly, too unevenly. Many ships still rely on lookouts and binoculars. Fighter direction remains fragmented. Radios are scarce. Coordination breaks down in combat. Meanwhile, American radar grows more refined, more integrated. Fighter direction centers become nerve hubs, linking ships, aircraft, and guns into a single responsive organism. Radar cues searchlights. Radar feeds gun directors. Radar brings fighters down through cloud layers directly onto targets. At the Battle of the Philippine Sea, Japanese pilots later call it the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Radar sees them coming hours in advance. Fighters are waiting at altitude. Anti-aircraft fire forms walls of steel. A Japanese survivor recalls the terror. "It was as if the enemy knew our thoughts before we did." By 1944, storms, once allies, are now traps. Night, once safety, is lethal. The sky belongs to whoever can see first, and the Americans always do. Yet even as defeat looms, Japanese aviators continue to fly. Some climb into their cockpits knowing they are already detected, knowing voices on enemy radios are tracking their every move. Courage remains, but it is no longer enough. Radar has rewritten the rules. After the war, Japanese pilots sit across from American intelligence officers, answering questions with weary honesty. Again and again, the same disbelief surfaces. "We thought the storm hid us," one says. "We thought night made us invisible." They are shown radar screens, plots, demonstrations. Some shake their heads, others laugh softly, a sound halfway between amazement and grief. American veterans rarely boast. Radar operators return home unnoticed, their war fought in dark rooms against green light and sweeping lines. Fighter directors become engineers, students, fathers. But history is clear. Radar didn't just warn the fleet, it controlled the sky. It turned surprise into prediction, chaos into geometry. It allowed American forces to fight smarter, not just harder, and it broke the back of an air doctrine built on invisibility. On that storm-soaked night in 1942, when Lieutenant Tanaka believed the clouds protected him, the future of warfare had already arrived, silent, unseen, and unstoppable. The storm did not hide them. It revealed them.